How does the Indiana Fever put up 106 points, hand a championship contender, the New York Liberty, their worst loss of the season? And somehow that's not even the biggest story of the night. Because while Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell were breaking records left and right, Sophie Cunningham was quietly owning a slice of WNBA history. What happened after that on the court is one of the most dominant nights in Fever history. 10 broken records and a message sent to the entire league, which was almost ruined by an unhinged meltdown by coach Stephanie White before the game. What should the Fever do to finish the season strong? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Clark, Mitchell, and Boston on pace to become the highest scoring trio in league history. Clark sheds her, fires, and hits. Mitchell on the other end. Mitchell again. Kelsey Mitchell feeling it early. And now Boston charges in and lays it home. Clark again 30 feet out on that one.
And still somehow owes accountability and self-awareness to a larger sisterhood, if she sees it that way. That last clause is the tale, if she sees it that way. Translation, join the cast, accept the politics, or keep catching fouls while the panel debates your tone. Monica McNutt was talking about Caitlin Clark. The lecture lands on Sophie Cunningham too. Sophie will not bend the knee on men and women.
Sophie Cunningham's name was everywhere online, and none of it was good. She'd just gone through the Chicago Sky mess, where DJ Jonah Carrington caught her across the face and neck on a layup attempt hard enough to draw blood, and got ejected for it. Then Carrington posted white privilege from the locker room and tagged the Fever, and suddenly this wasn't just a basketball play anymore. It hit national broadcast news. Lawmakers weighed in, former NBA players weighed in, and somehow in the middle of all that noise, Cunningham became the target. People online said she deserved it. So the question going into this Liberty game is simple. Why is that same player 3 days later about to put her name in the WNBA record book? Because here's what actually happened behind the scenes. While the legacy WNBA media was busy dragging her online, Cunningham didn't hide. She showed up to practice locked in.
In sports, Sophie will not run the approved script after she gets her mouth bloodied. So Sophie is not sisterhood material. She is content. She is a problem to manage. She is the woman the machine is built to isolate. DJ Carrington is not a random villain of the week. She is a perfect instrument of this culture. She has been tied to Nylisa Smith, the Las Vegas Aces.
That's not someone playing scared. That's someone getting ready to go to work. And you could see it from the opening minutes against the Liberty. Cunningham's shot selection looked completely different than it had all season. More aggressive, quicker off the catch, like she'd already decided she wasn't waiting for anybody's permission to shoot. By the time the box score came out, she'd gone for a 5 from 3, finishing with 12 points in a team-high plus 17 for the game. For made threes on almost no misses is the kind of shooting night that sounds fake when you say it out loud. Not just about the points on the board. Every single make forces the Liberty defense to guess wrong the next time down. When a shooter is hitting like that, defenders can't sit back and help off her anymore. They have to sprint out and close every single possession. And that's exactly what started happening.
MVP, this year's All-Star MVP, Clark. Again! Caitlin Clark. About 30. Harris spinning, dishing. Mitchell got hit. Still finishes. Plus the foul. Kelsey Mitchell. Hahn is unable to hit the three. Hahn at the horn gets denied by Cunningham. Fired up. So is Gainbridge. It's all feet.
Every single one of those closeouts opened something up for Caitlin Clark, whether it was a driving lane to the rim or a passing window to find someone else wide open. So Cunningham's shooting wasn't just a hot streak sitting on the stat sheet. It was the thing that made the entire Fever offense work that night. And that same shooting performance was about to land her a piece of WNBA history that nobody saw coming. Every player who's taken at least 100 threes in a single WNBA season. Who's shooting the best percentage in the league right now? Not Sabrina Ionescu, not Kelsey Plum. It's Sophie Cunningham, sitting at 45.5% from deep this season. The best mark in the entire WNBA among high-volume shooters. That's not a hot week or a lucky month. That's a full season of numbers built shot by shot since the year started. And that number matters more once you understand how rare it actually is.
I think there's just been a lot of outside noise, but our locker room is good, and that's what it is to be an Indiana Fever on the staff, as a player, that when you come here, that's going to be one of the things that's going to try to distract you. But our locker room in there, it's tight, and we have each other's backs. Coach loves us. She didn't see the clip. At the end of the day, she didn't see the clip, and you know what, Dejanay, she is a hell of a player. She's a great defender, and so she coached her for I don't know how many years up in Connecticut, so give her flowers, and she didn't see it, and that's okay. Me and Steph are great. Steph is great with all of us, and so it's really the outside noise that's trying to distract us, but we're good.
Just because
Cunningham did the opposite. Her efficiency held up and even improved as teams started paying more attention to her, which tells you defenses knew she was dangerous and still couldn't stop it. Now layer in the timing. This record locked in right after the worst week of Cunningham's season, the week where she got dragged online, painted as a villain, and turned into the face of a controversy she didn't start. Teammates and coaches talked about her mindset that week, and the word that kept coming up was locked in. Not rattled, not hesitant, not playing it safe to avoid more criticism. She kept shooting like the outside noise didn't exist, and the record book is proof it worked. Picture the third quarter against the Liberty. Cunningham catches the ball on the wing, defender closing out a beat too late, and she doesn't hesitate for a single second. She just rises and fires. Bottom of the net. Bombs away from three today. Starting with Caitlin Clark. Retreat dribble over Breanna Stewart, and then the extra pass from Boston out to Cunningham. 7 of 10 from 3 are the Indiana Fever to average the most points per game in league history. Cook gets blocked by Timpson, Clark quickly ahead with it. Clark off to Cunningham looking for another, you get it. Clark, Rebecca Allen with her size on Kelsey Mitchell. That quote s how many career double-doubles Caitlin Clark has right now. And only 2 guards in the history of the WNBA have more. But here's what makes it wild, they needed way more games to get there than Clark has played. She's sitting at 82 career games total. Think about that for a second, a stat that usually takes a decade to build. And she's third all-time before finishing her third season, now the second record, and this one she already owned. Clark broke her own mark for 20.10 assist games in a single season. She's now got 9 of them this year alone. So she's not just breaking the record, she's nearly doubling it while the season's still going. That stat line is brutal to repeat because it needs 2 completely different skills working at the same time. You've got to score at a high level and run the offense at a high level in the same 40 minutes without the 2 getting in each other's way. Most guards pick one lane and live there. Clark's doing both over and over deep into her 3rd year in the league. Her career total on that same stat line sits at 19 games with 20 points and 10 assists. Here's the number that should stop you. That's more than every other WNBA franchise has produced combined. Not more than most players, more than entire franchises. Decades of rosters, hundreds of players who've worn those jerseys. One player has outproduced entire histories of entire teams in that specific category. Now compare that to Skylar Diggins and Diana Taurasi, 2 of the greatest to ever touch a basketball, each sitting at 23 apiece, and both of them needed way more seasons to get there than Clark has played. Record, maybe the quietest one of the night, but just as heavy. Clark now has the most assists by any player through their first 3 seasons in WNBA history. And remember, she only played 13 games in year 2 because of injury. So she's not just doing this over 3 full seasons, she's basically doing it in 2.5. 5 records, 1 night, and each one measures something different about her game. Scoring, playmaking, longevity against history, pace against legends, and now a career mark built on missing a chunk of a season. Every era of the league got compared to her in the same night, and every era came up short. Boston a 3 is good. Indiana just so potent defensively because their ability to score in bunches. Multiple players who can drain those threes. What an impressive performance from the Indiana Fever. Fever the most dangerous team on the offensive end of the floor, especially their big 3. About Kelsey Mitchell dropped 28 points on this Liberty defense, and honestly, that's just a normal Tuesday for her at this point. What makes this stretch different from any other hot streak you've seen in this league isn't the one big night, it's what happened before it and what's still happening after it. This game gave her 17 straight games scoring 20 or more points. That's already her own single-season WNBA record, and she's still adding to it every time she steps on the floor. Has been dialed in for Caitlin Clark this season, as Hastier couldn't quite pop it in. Here is Mitchell. Mitchell looking to break down Ionescu and does with a little waltz to the cup. Here's Mitchell on a burner, zigging, zagging, dishing Billings. Yeah, look at how she got the 28. Mitchell shot 11 of 16 from the field and went 4 of 4 from 3.
That's efficiency.
That's a scorer picking her spots, reading the defense, and making almost every look count. When you shoot over 90% combined between two shot types in the same game, that's not luck. That's someone completely locked into her rhythm. And she set that tone early. Mitchell already had 20 points by halftime, which means she'd hit her scoring number for the night before Clark or Cunningham had really gotten rolling. That's the kind of start that changes how the other team's coaching staff has to game plan at halftime. Because now they're not just worried about Clark, they've got Mitchell torching them too. And there's only so many bodies to throw at both of them. Here's a record that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Mitchell sits 4th in franchise history in steals, with 252 for her career. That's a defensive number, and defensive numbers never trend the way scoring numbers do. But it tells you Mitchell isn't just parked on one end of the floor. The team racked up its own history that night as well. This win gave the Fever their 15th game this season, scoring 100 or more points with 5 different players landing in double figures. 5 scorers means the offense doesn't live or die on one matchup. One hot hand, one defender having a bad night guarding one player. Then there's the second team record, 13 games this season where Clark and Mitchell have both scored 20 or more points in the same game. That's the most by any duo in WNBA history. Full stop. Put those two team records side by side and you get the real story of this Fever squad. This isn't a two-woman act with role players standing around watching. It's a full roster peaking at the same time, scoring from everywhere, filling up a box score. Before the ball even got tipped, the story inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse had nothing to do with basketball. A head coach getting jeered inside her own building before her team's even taken the floor. White didn't back down from it either. She stood there and defended player health, and she came out swinging at what she called hate and fear-mongering trying to hijack the league. Strong words, and she meant every one of them. Standing at that podium with the boos still ringing around her, the reaction split the room right down the middle. Some fans backed her completely, and so did front office voices like Kelly Cross, who came out in support of what White was saying. But plenty of people inside that arena were clearly frustrated, and you could hear it, because boos don't happen by accident, and they don't happen quietly. So picture the pressure building on White in that exact moment. She's getting booed at home, trying to create a fabrication or distortion of who I am, of what I'm about. Our players' success, our players' health and wellness, our players' safety is always a top priority for me. One of the things I pride myself on is my relationships with players. For those who have anything to say about the play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time. Then the final buzzer sounded, and Clark didn't dance around the topic when reporters brought it up. She said flatly, there was no way the team was losing this game for White. Plain and simple. No hedging. That's not a throwaway line. That's a player telling you exactly where the locker room stood before the ball was even tipped. Cunningham backed her up publicly, too. Instead, they closed ranks around their coach in real time, in front of cameras, right when it counted most. Now line up the chaos of that pregame with what actually happened once the game started. Everything about the first half looked calm, controlled, almost businesslike. Like the team took all that noise from the podium and turned it into fuel instead of letting it turn into distraction. The final score, Fever by 14 over a title contender, doesn't happen if a team is rattled or divided in the locker room. I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time. They know that it's a shame that we can't have an opportunity to talk about what great basketball they're playing, because they aren't playing. The reality is with me, I will always lead with love. I will always lead with grace. I will always lead with humility, and I will always lead with integrity.